Please note that this session is being held in English and French. To access the French interpretation as I'm speaking, kindly click on the interpretation feature below. You would see a globe icon below on your screen. Kindly click on it and select your preferred language. After selecting your preferred language, please mute the original language so that it is not conflicting. Please note that we are going to take Q&A, and we ask that whilst the presentations are ongoing, to put your Q&A in the Q&A menu chat. You will see a Q&A feature. Please use that to put in your questions or need for clarification as presentations are ongoing. The chat session is reserved solely for networking. Please do not put any question or need for clarification in the chat box. Use the Q&A session for it. Without wasting much time, I would like to invite Davron, who is the moderator for this session. Davron, if you can hear me, kindly introduce yourself and take us through today's session.
Yeah, Salam alaikum everybody. Should we start or wait a little bit for the others to join?
I would say we start now because we said 9 o'clock. So let's stick to the time and start. So you might start by introducing yourself and sharing the agenda for the day.
Okay. Do you see my screen now?
Yes, I see your screen.
Yeah. Salam alaikum, everybody. We are glad that we are organizing this event in the scale of Senegal, Gambia, Guinea, Bissau. The goal of this meeting was organizing online meeting of the buyers and sellers of the raw cashew nut. But during the kind of organizing this event, we already found out that cooperatives also want to sell other products which the buyers may be interested. I am working with Lift Cashew project as market access manager. Since 1 year, 1.5 years, I'm here in Africa. Before I was working in Tajikistan as marketing person. We are organizing this event now in 2 languages, English and French, because French was the most used language in the area. And as we are working in 3 countries, Gambia speaks English, Senegal speaks French, and Guinea-Bissau, it was a little bit difficult to organize B2B, but if you all know that during the B2B, we have to make some kind of private meetings. And we agreed that this session will be only information session for all parties. We will provide hello, I'm connected.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I thought that I was lost because we have here bad connection. So we will provide you information about all possible commodities in these 3 countries, which are available from the first hand. We are working with cooperatives, and we will have during the discussion, I can share with you share my screen. Here. We will have this agenda during the meeting. First, like we will introduce our project, then African Cashew Alliance will make, Jim Fitzpatrick will make a little bit about information about African countries. Then we go with supply. We have representatives of the cooperatives from 3 countries who will share their experience on value chain. Please, Laura.
So, good morning, everybody. But I'm very happy to have all people here. I will speak in French
Laura,
to be more clear.
Can you please be audible a bit more?
What?
Can you
more audible? Good morning, everybody. Is good now?
Yes, it's better. Thank you.
Ok. Donc, bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Laurent Goss, je suis le COP de ce projet. J'ai démarré ici en janvier passé et bientôt je ferai un an. Et comme Davron l'a dit, notre projet est un projet sur la chaîne de valeur anacarde et nous travaillons dans les pays comme le Sénégal, la Gambie et la Guinée-Bissau. Donc, nous couvrons ces trois pays. Toute la bande d'anacarde qui concerne ces trois pays est couverte par notre projet. Nous avons 5 composantes. Une composante de tout ce qui est organique, de tout ce qui est qualité de la production, etc. Vous n'êtes pas sans savoir que notre zone représente la meilleure qualité actuellement en Afrique. Nous sommes assis au cordes. Donc, c'est une zone où les rendements, où la qualité est très bonne et nous voulons maintenir cette qualité-là. Nous avons, en plus de ces composantes, nous avons des composantes transversales comme la composante lift-up qui s'occupe de l'ensemble des bases de données et qui peut être disponible sur Internet avec Salesforce et Taro. Et nous avons la composante politique ou policy qui va s'occuper des relations entre les différents, comment dirais-je là, commercialisés à bon escient dans l'ensemble de cette zone-là. Et donc, ce projet, comme j'ai dit à l'entame, est financé par l'USDA, le département américain de l'agriculture. Donc, c'est une opportunité des bailleurs ou de pouvoir se joindre à nous et de travailler d'arrache-pied sur ce projet-là et arriver à des résultats probants. Par ailleurs, je rappelle que ce projet, à l'instar des autres projets en Afrique qui travaillent sur le cajou, est financé aussi par l'USDA. Nous avons nos homologues qui sont au Bénin, en Côte d'Ivoire, avec Technocef, avec CNFA, qui sont dans ces zones-là, et avec qui nous travaillons ensemble et avec qui nous chaque mois sur les progressions dans le cadre de la chaîne de valeur anacarde. Donc, en ramasser, je remercie aussi au passage ACA qui nous a beaucoup aidés et avec qui nous travaillons depuis longtemps, depuis que je suis là, avec qui nous travaillons sur l'implémentation de ce projet, mais aussi sur le moment, vraiment, l'occasion de les remercier. Je remercie aussi les gouvernements du Sénégal, de la Guinée-Bissau et de la Gambie qui nous ont permis de travailler efficacement sur ce projet-là et qui nous ont donné l'ensemble de leur pouvoir faire un certain nombre de choses. Et donc, à cela, je dis vraiment merci. Les débats vont commencer et je vais passer la parole à Davron qui va introduire nos amis de African Cashew Alliance pour leur présentation rapide. Donc, vraiment, merci à tout le monde et je souhaite à tous une bonne rencontre, une bonne réunion et je pense que nous serons sortis d'ici avec de très, très bons résultats et de très bonnes discussions très fructueuses. Merci à tous. Welcome and good meeting.
Hello everyone, I'm back. Do you hear me? We have some internet connections. It's disappearing and connecting again. Hello?
Yes, Davron, please go ahead. We can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Please go ahead, Davron. Please go ahead.
Yeah. We are giving floor to Jim Fitzpatrick. I'm sure that all representatives of the cashew business who were involved in international trade and in Africa, mainly in other areas of the world, know about him, award-winning consultant, business coach, and cashew expert. He has experience over 30 years on the sector, like ingredient sector, mainly connected with food products and managing sourcing operations on natural ingredients, oilseeds, grains. He known for his ability to forecast the market. During the pandemic period, we know that he was doing every 2-week sessions informing about what's going on in the world and what's going on in the Africa, and approximately forecasting about what will happen in the market during the next period, which mostly was very correct because we are the biggest fund recent year advisory consultancy training about value chain management about in 30 more countries and has experience like working with World Bank, International Finance Corporations, and other organizations. Jim, we are very happy to have you in our board today. Please take the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. I wonder, could I share my screen, please?
Jim, you may share your screen. Once you start sharing your screen, his will go off.
I'm afraid not, Blessing. I think you need to let me share it because it's not working.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So hopefully now you can see my screen. Can you just confirm that for me?
Yes, we see your screen, Jim.
Good morning, Blessing. Can you confirm that you can see my screen? World
Yes,
Cashew Markets in 2020. Thank you.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Thanks, Blessing. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the World Cashew Market in 2020 to set the scene for your later discussions. I've entitled it Threats, Disruption, but most of all, Resilience, and that's what we've seen in 2020. We start briefly looking at production, and production initially forecast much higher than 2019 was impacted by a reduced crop in India particularly, but also by the fact that in West Africa, a lot of the production didn't make it to market in certain countries. So overall, we looked at a slightly lower production in 2020 or a slightly lower commercialization. Really good crops in Vietnam and in Cambodia, which is a growing force in production. I think when we look overall at the context of the world cashew production, we have to acknowledge that the growth, which was strong over the last decade, is now slowing. And this is particularly due to slowing growth in West Africa, but essentially stagnant. Africa's share has been maintained in 2020 around 56%, the largest producing region in the world. What we saw this year was that the resilient production, but threats to supply during the early part of the year, primarily due to weak infrastructure, threatened, of course, by the impact of the coronavirus. And this was particularly evident in Cote d'Ivoire, in Nigeria, and in Guinea-Bissau. As the year has gone on, I think the sector has proved to be quite resilient in the sale and movement of our CN. And as the year ends, we see that the crops in East Africa, particularly Tanzania, seem to be lower than estimated due to weather conditions and due to poor distribution of inputs earlier in the year. On the other side of the coin, we look at the consumption, and we've seen quite a mixed year, really. We've seen very strong growth in consumption of cashew nuts in Europe. We've seen the US market return to growth following 4 or 5 years of very, very slow growth, and really a stagnant market for those 3 or 4 years. Small, but interesting because of its potential market, China. We've seen the market return after a very poor start to growth in the second half of the year, and that's an interesting factor for the future. If we look at the trends in the market, these trends became more and more evident in 2020, and we can break it down into 5 items. Health, natural foods, plant-based alternatives, alternatives to meat, alternative proteins. These are really big factors. They're having a huge impact in the European market. but certain things haven't changed. Food safety is still a very important factor for buyers, maybe the most important factor, and increasingly transparency in the value chain, better traceability, consumers more interested in the story of the product and interested in the people behind the product. So expect to see in the coming years more interest in social certification, more interest in the story behind the supply chain, and essentially more interest in traceability. If we look at prices, unlike consumption, really did lack resilience in 2020. The market crashed early in the year, really without justification on the fundamentals. Production and consumption very closely matched. The carryout from 2020 will be lower than in any of the previous 3 years. And we're looking at a situation where much of the crop wasn't commercialized. I'm speaking particularly in India. Nonetheless, prices collapsed. I think that happened because of the initial panic around the pandemic, the misread of consumption patterns. So many people assuming that consumption in Western countries would crash as a result of the pandemic, when in fact the opposite happened. There was a hangover of Tanzanian raw material from not only from 2019, but also from 2018 at the beginning of the year. But the key factor for me in this collapse in prices was the threat to the value chain caused by the failure of processing in growing countries. So in 2020, far from where they were grown. And this had a huge impact on prices, although the supply chain did show resilience and did maintain the shipments of RCN and enormous shipments, of course, of kernels, particularly to markets which have modern retail, Europe and North America. Looking at the supply-demand position, we see forecasting into 2021 a very tight position by the end of the year. We see higher consumption, mainly the continuation of existing trends in the developed countries and the return to consumption growth in India in 2021. The position in 2020, if we look at supply versus demand, we see that there was a significant surplus. However, we have to bear in mind that much of that surplus in terms of the production remains in the countries of origin, and therefore the commercialization hasn't happened. So I calculate that the year ends with about 50 days processing stock in hand. That means a very tight position in Vietnam, less tight position in India, and we're already seeing the transfer of stock of RCN from India to Vietnam. If we look longer term, so here's a chart, and the solid lines represent demand, and the dotted lines represent production. So if we take two trends, the 10-year trend and the 5-year trend, and project them forward, this is what we get. So in blue, the 10 on supply. And what you can see from that clearly is that there is, on the current trends, a gap emerging, that the growth in demand is outstripping the supply. And that should mean over the longer term, either we correct the production issue or prices rise in order to facilitate a stabilization in demand. And that remains to be seen. But it would appear that there is room for further production, and that there is room probably over time for price rises. I wanted to mention some of the supply chain issues that were highlighted in 2020. And clearly the concentration of processing, particularly for the export market in Vietnam, with the US relying on Vietnam for about 90% of its kernels, for example, causes volatility and reduces competition. The fact of growing cashews far from where they are processed has a risk. It compromises the quality, it slows the movement. It increases the price for the consumer, but unfortunately doesn't increase the price for the farmer. This RCN trade in the current volume around about 2 million tons per year is a threat to traceability cost of the cashew sector. And this is where we get price volatility from. We get price volatility from a value chain that really is out of sync with the needs of buyers. I mean, we often talk about cashews moving, some of them moving 30,000 kilometers first east and then west before they reach their final destination. And this impacts issues like product development. Volatility is unhealthy for business, unhealthy for new product development, which is part of the reason why brokens are at such historically low prices. And we have to ask the question, we're predicting more demand. Will the ports of Africa, will the infrastructure in African ports and roads and warehouses be able to cope? It's a 2 million ton trade now. 10, 15 years from now, it could be a 5 million ton trade. How would that work? So let's have a little look at the impact of the pandemic on the supply chain. It certainly has highlighted the weaknesses and the risk. Although, as I say, the chain has been resilient this year. The risk of high dependence on a single origin has been highlighted. So let's imagine from a West African perspective, would be probably about 1 million tons of raw cashews still lying in West Africa. And that itself is a massive risk. So the chain impacted by the pandemic points out the risk of long supply chains. It points out the lack of transparency and the lack of traceability. And it points out, and we're seeing this across a wide range of ingredients, the need for shorter supply chains, nearer supply chains, and more agile supply chains that can withstand the shocks in difficult times. And this extreme crisis of 2020 has helped us to further understand that. We'll have a look at the outlook 2021. Demand is fundamentally strong, particularly in Europe, but also in the United States, in China, and recovering in India. This is not just due to lockdowns. This is a fundamental underlying strength in demand. Indian demand is recovering, but it's recovering slowly. I repeat the fact that on this basis, the supply chain as it stands is fundamentally flawed. And that has got to be an issue that we all have to be concerned about as stakeholders and as people interested in the cashew business. Currently, prices are at very attractive prices. 320s, somewhere between $3 and $3.10 from top processors for forward is a very interesting price for buyers and is likely to sustain further demand growth. And as I mentioned, to reiterate, the big factor in the longer term outlook is that production is not keeping pace with demand. Look on the market. How can African processing help and benefit this situation? Firstly, traceability and transparency. Two big issues that you're going to hear a lot more of in 2021. Traceability and transparency can really only be achieved by processing closer to the point of origin, and critically by integrating producers into the supply chain. For 56% of the world's cashews, this can only really be achieved by processing close to origin, which means in African countries. If we look at the risk and diversification from the consumer's point of view, I mentioned US buyers, about 90% depends to diversify. If African countries processed only 40% of their RCN, the dependence of Europe and the US on Vietnam could be reduced from an average 82% to an average 33%. And that's only with 40% processing in African countries, which would essentially resolve the problem of the contradictions in the supply chain as it stands. I'll leave you with that thought. Thank you very much indeed for your attention. If there are any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jim, for detailed information. We hope that this year will be much better than the previous year, and we will have some progress in whole West African countries. Let me go with my presentation. Do you see my screen?
Yes, I see your screen. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Again, let's come to the information about our project and about the region. We are working, this project is funded by USDA, implemented by Shelter for Life. Remaining seasons are 21, 22, 23, so we have 3 years remain, and it's by season, we mean from March to August. Usually what is happening, the harvest is ripening in this period. And if you see the table, production in 3 countries, if you take like after Cote d'Ivoire, one of the biggest countries is Guinea, Bissau, then we are having here Senegal, Gambia. And if you see the quality, we have in the region one of the highest qualities. Although the quality yields are not high than like other countries, Vietnam, it's about 50 to 400. The processing level is about 4-5% in the region. Okay. Then what is the goal of the project? As we mentioned in the previous thing, this is project for trade and processing of the RCN. We have 3 main goals. One of the goals is maintain the quality into 52-54 LBS, work through the cooperatives, and during the life of the project, assist cooperatives to sell 100,000 tons of RCN, and also work on the processing, facilitate putting more factories in these 3 regions. By Segabi, we mean Senegal, Gambia, and Bissau. And these are 3 main goals of the project. We had one very difficult season during this year. You all know, because of COVID-19 restrictions, we were not able to interact with all buyers. Buyers were not able to come. Anyway, the trade was going in the field. And what we achieved during this period is when we were like approaching through the cooperatives, most of the people were a little bit pessimistic. They were saying that cooperatives, associations are not able to organize in a good quality and big volumes RCN to the buyers. But team of SFL, Connexus, then we have ministries. By we don't mean only project, it was a chain of the value chain actors who work together in order, together with cooperatives, to reach these indicators. And thanks to cooperatives that they were very active, they were very positive. Even we were working and some of the plans were not fulfilled by us in time. Anyway, like buyers were coming, and we did 24 commercial contracts. And as you see in the picture, in total, 15 cooperatives were able to sell 10,000 tons of RCN in the 2020. And what other achievements we have, except this? Of course, we were working with processors. We provided them temporary financial support in order to support increase of the processing. And also, Agriculture Department was working with cooperatives in place about organic certification. We trained 1,500 people about what is organic. As you know, cashew in these 3 countries, not only cashew, all products are organic, but there was an issue with certification. And we started working with farmers now in places to together with processors and buyers to certify them so that they receive bio certificate. And at the same time, project is working on the field with farmers to improve the condition of the gardens, like trees, because they are getting either old or there is no spacing, or like the quality of the variety is not good for the kind of sales. And except of this, of course, we are working on infrastructure where we are doing 75 kilometers of road. And what we are doing now, and all of this, what we are doing now is mainly for buyers, exporters, traders, processors. We are linking them with cooperatives. The first thing for the moment, what we are doing is we are making census of 30,000 farmers in order to make the area expansion of the cooperatives, making them stronger. After we'll follow awareness campaign with cooperatives where we will invite remaining farmers to join cooperative. They are legal entities, they have bank accounts now, and they can already go into the trade. And we are working on quality in the field, like about the trees, as I mentioned, and also post-harvest handling. We will support during this year with storages cooperatives, so they will be able to make like stocking in a good quality, so they can sell to the buyers in big volumes and high quality. Also, currently, policy team is working on warehouse receipt system. This will allow us to make to have some kind of financial means in order to be able to make sustainable cooperatives to have money during the season and provide to the buyers RCN. We also developing online platform. It is based on Salesforce. We will give to each buyer access in the future, like for the coming season, starting from February, access to real life information where on a daily basis we will collect information about how much RCN is available in the field. So buyers can contact cooperatives and associations directly. What we have on to propose you during the year 2021. This is Cooperatives of Senegal. As you see, our project is about cashew, but when we were discussing with the cooperatives about sales, they said we have also other crops which the buyers may be interested. Although it was not our main product, like we were only concentrating on cashew, we like accepted this, and as you see, we have other products which you buyers, traders, exporters may be interested in. And this direct contacts with the cooperatives will allow you to come to the first hand. And in total, in Guinea, Bissau, in Gambia, in Senegal, for year 2021, our cooperatives, our cooperatives is those cooperatives who have signed with us MOU and who are ready to sign contracts with the buyers, with processors. They can provide approximately 40,000 tons of RCN, also sesame, peanuts, millet, and other products. There are also several other products which could be exported, which could be in interest of the buyers. This is up to you now to approach us and talk with the cooperatives directly. I will share with you contacts of the cooperatives link where you have phone number of each cooperative director, their emails, and their contacts, so you can directly call to them and start negotiation for the upcoming season. For a moment, for example, peanuts, it has an active season, you can already discuss with them. And what we have with the processors, processing, unfortunately, in the region is very weak. We are processing almost 4-5% of all cashew produce, but we have very good tendency. We believe that in the future, cooperatives become suppliers of the RCN in the countries, and processors also will be a lot much in the place, and the export of RCN will constantly decrease. So with green, I showed those companies who were established during this year. These are new companies, and the existing capacity for Senegal is on your screen. We also like supporting processors who are doing cashew apple and other juices. And this is information for Gambia and Guinea-Bissau. As I said, this information will be available in the file, so you can, in the future, like enter and get. But in total, capacity will be in 2021. We hope that it will be about 25,000 tons, and approximately 3,000 ton kernel will be available by the processors. And this is plans, hopefully, that COVID-19 will not disrupt the market and we will not have again uncertainty, but in general, like we are very positive about it. And except of this, what we can propose to you, we are linking and creating synergies. This is, we are now representing cooperatives, associations, processors in the field. We have access, you will have access to 8 commodities from the first hand. And in the future, we will give you access to the online platform. You will have big volumes and high quality products. We are working on organic products, and like hopefully that we will be able during this season to certify some cooperatives, and like they will be delivering high quality bio cashew nuts. And also we are working with commercial banks and financial institutions. We also invite remaining who are there, because we will have access to 30,000 farmers, cooperatives, and 16 factories with coverage about 50,000 hectares of land. As I mentioned, it's not only cashew, there are a lot of other crops which may be like interesting for the buyers, and also provide support in risk mitigation and assistance on equity investment. And this is linked for the files which I mentioned. If you enter this file, you will have access to Google Drive, where you will have information about all cooperatives, their capacity, their direct contacts, and how much volume of which product they can bring to you. You can directly contact cooperatives. You can contact our team in place. We will facilitate your trade. And of course, we do not guarantee, but last year was very difficult year for us, season, because we were starting with cooperatives with 500 kg, and we were growing to 100 ton. It was possible. Now, cooperatives and associations are very interested in having international buyers, like also experience of the buyers on organic certification, because we know that all buyers have their own certification system which can be implemented in our countries. And we have support of our team in place. This is support for cooperatives, associations. This is support for the processors. This is support for the buyers. And this is contacts of our team. You can contact anytime. We are here to support you. The main goal of this presentation was that we have very big opportunity, possibility in the region, but up to now, it was not maybe visible. Even with processors, unfortunately, I was not able to put the pictures in the presentation in time. We have 16 factories, out of which 8 are modern. They are like able to process 1,000 tons of RCN per year. So processors contacts also in this file. You can contact them directly or through our organization. This was from my side. This link is available here. We can, if you have any questions, please write in the question and answer part. Now, if you don't mind, I will give speech to Mr. We will start with the supply, with the cooperatives. Close to me is sitting Mr. Aliou Juba, president of Cooperative Ajak. He wants to tell us about his experience, what was going on in the field, what is his experience, and what is they are planning for the season 2021. After we will have one cooperative from the Guinea-Bissau and processors, then we go to the big buyers. Mr. Aliou Juba, please.
Allô? Bonjour. Oui, moi je m'appelle Alain Siba. Je suis le président de la coopérative agricole. L'agricole veut dire Association des jeunes de développement. Local veut dire Angola, l'enfant légal. Pour préciser
Hello?
Oui? Allô?
Hello?
Allô? Hello?
Sir, please, if you can hear me, kindly speak a bit louder.
Oui, parlez-moi en français. Moi, allô? Allô?
Hello?
Oui. Allô?
Hello?
Oui, bonjour. Bonjour. Allô?
Devon, please, can you hear me?
Oui, je t'entends pas. Je t'entends. Allô? Allô?
Hello?
Oui, allô? Hello? Allô? Allô? Allô?
Devon, can you hear me?
Allô? Vous m'entendez?
Yeah.
Je l'entends, mais quand je parle au micro, je n'entends pas. Allô?
Mr. Liu, please, can you hear
Allô?
me?
Blessing, do you hear us?
Devon, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. How do you hear us? Hello? Can you connect your phone maybe? Can you connect you? Hello? Yeah, wait. I think we are back. Do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, we have connection problems. We are going. Yeah, Mr. Please. Yo.
Allô? Allô?
Oui, allez-y, monsieur.
Vous m'entendez? Oui, maintenant, je vous écoute. Qu'est-ce que puis-je vous parler? Posez-moi les questions, je réponds. Allô? Oui, moi, je m'appelle Ali Djiba, président de la coopérative Ajac Local, qui intervient dans la région de Ziguinchor et un peu dans le département de Goudomp. Allô? Oui. Je vais vous donner un peu la signification d'Ajac Local. Ajac Local, Ajac veut dire Association des jeunes agriculteurs de la Casamance. Local est un mot yola pour vraiment illustrer le terme en français, c'est pour permettre à nos populations de comprendre qu'est-ce que c'est Association des jeunes de Casamance. Nous sommes une coopérative qui intervient dans la NACAR et aujourd'hui nous travaillons avec celle depuis 2019-2020 et nous avons quand même acquis un peu d'expérience avec CELTE par rapport à la qualité de la norme, par rapport aux bonnes pratiques. Et aujourd'hui, nous envisageons vraiment être une coopérative modèle dans la région, dans la région de Ziguinchor au niveau du Sénégal. Et aussi, nous sommes en partenariat avec CELTE pour mieux illustrer la traçabilité du caillou. Aujourd'hui, nous savons que le caillou est un business. Et ce qui veut quand même être concurrencé en Afrique, même au Sénégal, il faut quand même pratiquer, il faut aussi avoir des bonnes pratiques pour avoir, on a dit qu'il y a deux possibilités, il y a d'abord la qualité et la quantité. Et pour être vraiment compétitif, il faut vraiment asseoir une bonne politique agricole, avoir de bonnes pratiques et aussi travailler avec les populations pour identifier d'abord leurs vergers, identifier leurs difficultés, identifier aussi les besoins des populations par rapport à Nakar. Aujourd'hui, au moment où nous sommes en train de faire des enquêtes au niveau de nos différentes zones pour avoir vraiment le nombre vraiment adéquat de populations qui veulent adhérer vraiment dans la société coopérative de la Jacques locale. Au moment où nous sommes à presque à 56% des enquêtes. Nous avons un objectif de 2500 et quelques producteurs à enquêter. Et si Dieu le veut, au niveau, juste à la fin du mois, nous aurons presque atteint notre objectif. Aujourd'hui, nous sommes ici pour valoriser vraiment le caillou en Casamance, surtout au niveau du Sénégal. Pour ce faire, nous avons besoin de la participation vraiment des producteurs, leur adhésion massive au processus de bonnes pratiques. Aujourd'hui, si cette chaîne de valeur ne tient pas bon, c'est les populations, c'est les producteurs. Donc, nous allons identifier les producteurs, les former dans vraiment les bonnes pratiques, les former dans la transformation, si c'est possible, parce que nous avons des transports quand même aujourd'hui. Avoir de bons vergers, il faut aussi appliquer les bonnes pratiques culturelles. Et aujourd'hui, les vergers étant vieillissants, avec CELTE, nous avons identifié les problèmes. Et nous sommes aujourd'hui dans, comment on appelle ça, dans l'élégage, la classification et surtout aussi, CELTE nous a doté de moyens pour pouvoir quand même améliorer nos vergers. Tel que aussi dans la zone de Bignona, on a été choisir des producteurs pour identifier vraiment leurs vergers. Ce sont des vergers qui ne répondent pas aux normes. Et avec la formation, nous avons senti que le besoin est là. Et un des producteurs s'est porté volontaire pour d'abord tester la première phase d'éclaircissement et des espacements. Au départ, c'était vraiment difficile. Il n'était pas tellement sûr parce que celui qui a 2 à 300 pieds, vous lui demandez à l'hectare d'avoir 100 pieds, alors vous voyez comment ça travaille dans l'esprit. Mais au départ, c'était difficile. Mais une semaine après, c'est lui-même qui est venu nous dire, témoigner que vraiment j'étais fatigué au départ parce que mentalement, je ne pensais pas. Allô? Oui, je ne pensais pas vraiment que ça va donner des fruits. Aujourd'hui, c'est vraiment la ruée pour vraiment avoir ce plan d'éclaircissement. Maintenant, Ce que nous voulons aujourd'hui, c'est que les populations s'approprient même de ce programme pour valoriser l'anacar en Casamance. Cette chaîne de valeur est une chaîne que vraiment, dans le processus, il faut que les gens s'y mettent. Il faut que tous les maillons s'organisent pour valoriser vraiment la production en Casamance, surtout au niveau du Sénégal. Nous sommes dans la zone Ségabi et aujourd'hui nous pensons que tous ces trois pays, si nous communions ensemble, si nous allons ensemble dans la même direction, on va pouvoir être ensemble pour avoir un prix compétitif. Dans le processus d'accompagnement, celle qui nous a permis aujourd'hui à tous les acteurs, tous les producteurs, de vraiment d'aller vers la modernisation de nos vergers pour être vraiment compétitifs au niveau du Sénégal, au niveau de l'Afrique, au niveau du monde. Pourquoi pas? Aujourd'hui, nous pensons que la valeur de la noix, surtout au Sénégal, est une valeur vraiment incontestable au niveau de l'Afrique. Nous avons vraiment une bonne graine, une qualité bien pleine. Et aussi, il faut quand même savoir que la Casamance a vraiment surtout été bénie parce que vraiment, nous avons vraiment une terre riche. C'est à nous maintenant de pratiquer les conseils que les partenaires nous sommes en train de nous inculquer pour avoir un bon rendement. Et Inch'Allah Rabbi, nous sommes dans ce processus. Tout changement est difficile. Tout changement demande quand même un temps pour vraiment s'organiser. Et nous pensons que ça a commencé à donner des fruits. Et aujourd'hui, ce que nous voulons, c'est rajeunir vraiment les plantations pour avoir une production de qualité. Parce que nous avons hérité des plantations de nos papas qui n'ont pas respecté les normes culturelles. Aujourd'hui, si nous pensons que le peuple producteur est en mesure de suivre ces pratiques, et nous saluons vraiment la procédure. C'est lent, peut-être. Les gens vont dire que c'est lent, mais ce n'est pas lent. Tout processus a un coût, a une durée. Et d'ici 2 ans, 3 ans, les gens qui n'ont pas compris comprennent parce que ça traîne. Et pourquoi ça traîne? Parce qu'on n'a pas été formé. Quand on est formé, on doit quand même vraiment être en mesure de donner de bons rendements. Maintenant, ce qui pose problème, c'est l'accès à la terre. Parce que certains veulent travailler, ils n'ont pas de la terre. Eux aussi, ce qui nous réconforte à la JAC, nous avons dans les 1700 producteurs, mais dont 555 femmes. Ça nous réconforte parce que si les femmes aujourd'hui, qui sont à la base du développement de notre société, de notre coopérative, nous pensons que d'ici 2 ans, 3 ans, au lieu d'avoir 150, on aura 300, 400, 500 femmes qui doivent quand même se lancer dans cette agriculture bio. Et surtout ce qui est fondant, CELTE a formé plus de 300 producteurs sur les techniques de formation bio. Alors, si aujourd'hui nous savons que la biologie permet d'avoir un produit de qualité, un produit compétitif au niveau de l'Afrique, au niveau mondial. Aujourd'hui, ce que nous allons lancer comme recommandation, c'est que tous les producteurs de la Sénégambie s'investissent pour avoir un produit de qualité, un produit compétitif au niveau de l'Afrique. Et nous saluons d'abord aussi avec tous ces techniciens qui sont en train de se mouvoir, de sillonner la Sénégambie pour que ces producteurs aient quand même aujourd'hui des rendements meilleurs pour booster l'économie de l'Afrique, l'économie du Sénégal d'une manière générale. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ali Juba. I am now giving floor to another big association, Cooperative FAMV, Mr. Fernando Cao, please.
Allô? Alors, bonjour tout le monde. Allô? Alors, bonjour tout le monde. Est-ce que je passe? Je n'ai pas de retour au niveau de mes oreilles. Est-ce que je peux parler? Je passe. Je peux continuer. Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Fernando Cao Je suis le président de Femmes Vie. Femmes Vie, c'est l'association, c'est une fédération d'associations pour une meilleure qualité de vie dans les villages. C'est une association qui a été créée en 2008, qui couvre un département, le département de Goudomp. Il faut dire que c'est le département le plus productif en cajou au niveau du Sénégal. L'essentiel des noix sont produits dans ce département au sud de la région de Sédhiou. Et c'est là où nous intervenons depuis 2010. Et nous travaillons principalement dans deux directions. De la qualité. Et la deuxième direction, c'est l'amélioration de la productivité. Pour ce qui est de l'amélioration de la qualité, nous intervenons dans la sélection variétale pour arriver à semer des variétés dont les noix sont commercialisables au niveau mondial. Ce que nous vivons, c'est que les vergers ont été plantés avec des arbres tout venant et la productivité est faible. Il y a donc des arbres qui donnent bien, d'autres qui ne donnent pas bien. Du point de vue de la qualité aussi, c'est la même chose. Des arbres avec de bonnes noix, des arbres avec des noix très mauvais. Donc, notre objectif, c'est d'améliorer tout ça. Avec Shelter, nous travaillons dans ce sens pour aider non seulement les producteurs à avoir une densité de plantation qui est assez correcte. Parce que présentement, la densité de plantation est très forte. Du fait que les populations craignent que les plantations prennent feu parce que s'ils ne sont pas débroussaillés. Et avec l'appui de Shelter, la mise en place des services de soutien des jeunes qui sont affiliés à notre association et qui interviennent dans l'appui aux producteurs, aux planteurs, pour qu'ils puissent nettoyer à temps leur jardin afin que ça ne soit pas détruit. Donc, dans ce sens, également, nous travaillons sur l'amélioration génétique par le greffage. Donc, nous avons une association des greffeurs professionnels et qui œuvre dans le greffage des plants pour améliorer toute nouvelle plantation, que ça soit planté qu'avec des espèces vraiment qui sont homologuées, donc dont les produits peuvent être vendus sans problème au niveau mondial. Du point de vue de la commercialisation, avec Shelter, il nous a fortement aidé à encourager dans ce sens, à aller fortement dans ce sens, puisqu'au début, nous ne faisions que l'organisation, c'était par village, aider les populations à vendre ensemble, afin d'avoir une quantité considérable et espérer avoir les meilleurs prix par rapport au prix qui est courant. Et cela, nous l'avons fait pendant des années. Avec l'arrivée de Shelter, Shelter nous a conseillé vraiment de mieux renforcer ce que nous sommes en train de faire et d'aller de l'avant, c'est-à-dire aider à commercialiser afin que le produit ne soit pas quelque chose dont le prix est basé sur une loterie. Le vécu, c'est que une année sur 2 ou sur 3, le prix varie tellement qu'on ne sait pas où est-ce qu'il faut aller. Nous pensons avec des commerçants fiables, avec un partenariat qui est vraiment noué, il est bon d'instaurer une relation gagnant-gagnant, une relation qui va permettre d'assurer l'approvisionnement en production auprès des producteurs. C'est ça notre travail et c'est ce que nous faisons. Nous voulons vraiment, dans ce sens, aider nos producteurs non pas à faire davantage de superficie, mais à améliorer ce qu'ils sont en train de faire. Aujourd'hui, le rendement est entre 200, voire jusqu'à 500, en moyenne entre 300 et 400. Et donc, c'est un rendement que nous jugeons très faible, parce que nous avons des laitiers qui font 50 kilos. Et quand on prend le donc on peut aller jusqu'à 700, 800, 800 kilos à l'hectare. Et donc, si nous le faisons, je pense que la production qui est dans notre zone d'intervention, qui est estimée à peu près à 15 000 tonnes, va facilement pouvoir passer de 15 000 tonnes à peu près à 25 000 tonnes. Et c'est ça notre objectif. Merci si vous avez des questions par rapport à Femme-Vie, notre façon de travailler. Qu'est-ce que nous voulons produire? Pour cette année, nos estimations, c'est pour 2000 tonnes. Nous pensons que 2000 tonnes, c'est vraiment le minimum possible parce que notre zone est une zone de très grande production. Nous avons 1025 membres dont la production totale avoisine les 9 000 à 10 000 tonnes année. Et donc, à partir de ça, nous pouvons dire que 2 000 tonnes pour une deuxième campagne d'essai, ça peut être une estimation que nous jugeons qui est atteignable et qui peut être dépassée largement, même voire doublée. Donc, je vous remercie et compte peut-être répondre à vos questions. Merci à tous.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kao. We are a little bit late from the schedule. Mr. Sonko, are you here? Can we start with your presentation? We have some connection problems with Guinea, Bissau to connect cooperatives. Let's go with the processors later. Maybe we will be able to connect.
Okay, thank you, Devron. Good morning, everyone. My name is Moses Sanko. I am the co-founder of Smiling Coast Agro-Processing Company. We're a startup cashew processing and trading company located in Tangier, Gambia. The company is being set up by 3 partners. Myself, can you please go to the next slide?
Wait. Yep.
Okay. The company is being set up by 3 partners, myself, Xavier Lan, and Leandro Bambi. A quick background on us. I'm a Gambian who moved to the US at the age of 15. After graduation, I was able to go overseas and play professional basketball, 8 years in France, 2 years in Angola, and a year in Israel. After retirement in 2018, I started pursuing my master's degree in international business, and at the same time, got very interested in the cashew industry, and I've been working on it since. It's about 2.5 years now. And that's how I was able to sell it to my partners, and they accepted, and that's why we invest in the cashew industry right now. So my partner, Xavier Lan is a prominent businessman in France. He's been in the car industry for over 4 decades, has a proven record of leading successful companies. Xavier Lan also owns Alex Capital in France and another company called Jack Lau's Company. And he was the former president of one of the clubs that I played for, Aix-Maurienne Savoie Basket in France, and that's how we have a relationship. And he will be on the board of the company. The second partner is Leandro Bambi. Leandro Bambi is one of my best friends, and he's a computer engineer expert that works for a cybersecurity firm in Providence, Rhode Island called SecureWorks. He's a senior principal engineer. So we hope he's going to bring his computer engineering expertise into the factory. Leandro has experience in software automation with a focus on improving speed, agility, and quality of software and software delivery. So he'll be in charge of the IT department because we're going to be working a lot on traceability, and he's the one that's in charge of traceability, being able to track and also our process using the cloud. We're trying to automate that process too. Our vision as a company is to elevate the Gambian cashew industry. That holds dear to my heart. My father was worked for Action Aid, did a lot of rural development in Africa, and I grew up watching that, and I want to implement that too. And our mission is to be the best cashew producing, to be the best cashew producing company in the region, but based on quality. So our focus is going to be on mainly on food safety, traceability, and being environmentally cautious. So with the food safety, we're going to be working on the certification, HACCP, BRC certification. That's why our factory is being built with the following the 11 principles of sanitary factory design. And we had TechnoServe help us design the factory. Valentine and James helped us design the factory to be able to meet those expectations. And one of the main focus of it was to have the distinct hygiene zones established through wall separations to be able to control personnel and material flow. So then moving on to our strategy. Our strategy is to position ourselves as a B2B processor in the Gambia, process locally and then export out. But we're also going to start off with trading the first year of our operation. And the second phase of us will be, we'll also target the local market in Gambia, the hotel supermarkets, but we're only going to do about 20%. And most of the 80% will be going to our target market of the US and Europe. But we'll also look into other markets too. And phase 3 is to increase our production by sourcing outside of Gambia. That is, if we meet our targets and keep improving our production level. Can you please go to the next slide? Hello? Yeah. So the competitive advantage that we feel like we'll have is, like Devon mentioned before, best quality to price ratio in the region, close proximity to Europe, availability of the RCN, the government incentives that the Gambian government is given for priority sectors, which the cashew industry is one of the priority sectors. And we're also looking at going automated, using the modern equipment from Vietnam. That's where we're going to purchase our equipment. We already been to Vietnam to visit the machines that we feel like we need. And we're trying to go the automation route. Please go to the next slide. So for our operational forecast, the first year, which would be this year coming up in 2021, since we're still building our factory and we're a startup company, we're going to go into trading to learn all the traits and how to buy, how to sell. And then our second year, we anticipate producing 600 tons of cashews kernels for the second year. And then we want to gradually increase our production to 2,500 tons by year 5. So the factory that we're building as of right now is at the capacity of 2,500 tons. But we want to gradually increase our expertise and our knowledge all the way to the 2,500 tons by year 2025. And we have the land space to be able to expand the factory to 5,000 tons. So that's the goal, is by the time we reach the year 2025, we'll be looking into factory expansion and to be able to increase our production to get to 5,000 tons, which is our maximum production level by year 8. So this is a picture of the factory. On the top is just the design, but in the middle, you will see what we're talking about with the food safety, the design, which is the wall separations. And then we're going to have a flow of the cashew will flow from one side go on one side and then exit the other side and try to make sure there's no cross contaminations. And the workers would be strictly in their own regions, nobody moving into different regions. And the factory is under construction right now. We expect to be ready by June, July of 2021. And yeah, that's Smiling Coast. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Sonko. We hope that during the next years, we'll have opportunity to link you with the cooperatives around you and increase processing and exporting to the European, US markets, inshallah. Mr. Aray, are you here? Hello? We have some connection problems, unfortunately. Can we start?
Allô, bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde. Allô?
Yes, we hear you, Mr. Ray.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis Jordi Arrey, c'est le gérant de l'usine Ray Africa avec Guinée-Bissau. Et j'ai présenté un peu de ce que nous avons fait ici avec Guinée-Bissau. Ray Africa, j'ai travaillé avec 8 coopératives l'année passée, avec certification Bio-Europe. Et nous avons récolté avec les 8 coopératives une quantité de 1000 tonnes certification Bio-Europe. Nous avons voulu faire cette année prochaine de 2021, arriver à la quantité de 3000 tonnes certifiées Bio and Bio-Europe and Organic USA. Nous avons appuyé et voulu la transformation du cajou avec Africa pour ser plus sustentable, équitable et pour l'émission de CO2 pour la proximité qu'il y a de l'Ouest Afrique avec l'Europe et l'Amérique, les USA. C'est très important la traçabilité que l'usine de transformation africaine pourrait donner pour les clients finaux. Nous sommes en petite usine. Il y a une traçabilité pour légaliser, pour donner avec les clients finaux. C'est très important de pouvoir donner à travers du CEGABI ou des pays les certificats d'origine finale du cajou. Il y a une question que c'est très importante, c'est la question des prix qu'il y a actuellement dans le marché international. Ne c'est pas un prix bon pour pouvoir transformer à les usines africaines. C'est très important que les projets de Certain for Life donnent un bon appui de financement pour les coopératives et pour les transformateurs de CABI. ¿Se me está escuchando? ¿Aló? ¿Aló?
Yes, we're hearing you, Mr. Ray.
Ok. C'est très bon que cet effort-là il a appuyé les camponnais pour faire une bonne qualité et une bonne quantité de cajou et la diversification de les produits. C'est très important que ne soit pas le producteur, c'est un unique produit. Ce n'est pas bon qu'un producteur, forcément, il fait cajou. Il y a que faire 3 ou 4 produits plus. Pour le CEGABI, nous avons précisé qu'appuyer pour le CEGABI un laboratoire de qualité pour les racines et pour les cajou, pour la manne de cajou. C'est très important pour nous, pour les camponnais, pour les coopératives, pour les transformateurs de CEGABI, qu'il y a un laboratoire de qualité pour nous donner la certification avec les clients finaux. C'est très important. Notre problème que nous ouvrons l'année prochaine, nous sommes à Africa ouvrir une nouvelle usine de transformation pour les amandes de cajou dans la quantité de 4000 tonnes. Nous allons ouvrir l'année prochaine une nouvelle usine de 4000 tonnes. Passer à la phase de 12 usines, une de 3000 tonnes, une seconde usine de 4000 tonnes. C'est tout que je voulais donner. C'est très important pour nous la possibilité de laboratoire. Je crois que c'est très important que vous regardez bien, perquè nosaltres podem fer en bona qualitat, nosaltres podem fer en bona quantitat, nosaltres podem fer tot, però hi ha que certificar pour le client final. Il y a que certifier les recettes, il y a que certifier la marque. Nosaltres, il n'y a pas nécessairement un laboratoire certifié pour donner ce rapport de qualité. Pour nous, c'est très important. C'est tout que j'ai parlé.
Thank you very much, Mr. Array. Sorry that I did not introduce Mr. Array. Array Africa is one of the biggest factories in Guinea-Bissau, in our area, in row with Group Santi. They are processing every year 3,000 tons, and they are expanding with the second factory. So you have Array Africa contacts in the file, which we mentioned, so you can directly contact about purchase of the kernels. And now we are giving floor to Maren Peters from Trading Organic Europe. We were trying to bring 3 big buyers, Trading Organic Nuts to Red River Foods to our territory, like our countries during the last year, to have a meeting with processors and cooperatives. Unfortunately, because of COVID-19, it was not possible. So we are in a good contact, and we hope that during the next years, we will be able to do some project with these big buyers in our territories. Maren, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Can you see my screen and can you hear me well?
Yes, we are seeing your screen. We are hearing you very well.
Wonderful. Right. Yes, as I was already introduced, well, my name is Maren Peters and I work in the sourcing department of Trident Organic, which is a big organic trade company. I would like to, I'm very happy that I got the chance to introduce our company a little bit. I believe that there is not enough time to go into detail, but I would like to give you a small snapshot of what we are doing, and then later on we can get in touch, I believe. So who is Trident Organic? Trident Organic is basically a global organic ingredient supplier. We're striving to be the global front runner. We have more than 500 employees and 13 offices worldwide. We have a full service portfolio. We have our own sourcing, partnerships, and projects. We work a lot with sustainability initiatives and distribution. And we have, very wide distribution and processing capabilities. Just to give you a picture where we are positioned in the market. So Trident Organic covers pretty much the supply chain from sourcing. So we directly work with farmers in some instances. Most of the time we work with exporters and processors. We do quality control. So we import the raw materials to Europe and the US. In some instances, we have, for some products, we have our own processing facilities, like we have a sesame hulling factory in Ethiopia, avocado oil factory, we have our own cocoa factory. And this is basically where our role stops and where we sell it to manufacturers and packers, and who then sell it to the supermarket. Just to give you an idea, we have a lot of different product categories. You can say we do almost everything except fresh fruits and except herbs and spices. So also a lot of the products that your cooperatives are growing next to cashew nuts, such as peanuts and sesame, they are interesting for us and we can work on that. In total, we have some more than 200 different products that we source from more than 60 countries in the world. Our customers is mainly the international food industry. We're talking about manufacturers, packers, and a little bit cosmetics. Roughly half of them are based in the US, half of them are based in Europe, and a little bit in Asia Pacific. Something I would like to stress, and I don't want to go into detail here on everything that we do, But quality control, it has come up earlier in this meeting already, is very important for us as well. Our processors and our partners go through a very strict vendor control process, which is much more thorough than what what other traders demand. And we have a lot of sample testing in place. Another thing, it's already in our name, Tried and Organic. We only deal with organic products. So we have, that's one of our requirements, that our producers, suppliers have an organic certification. And on top of that, we see that there is a high demand for other certifications as well, for social standards, and more strict organic standards and regenerative standards and practices. To facilitate that, we work with a lot of different partners, not only our direct suppliers, but also research institutes, development organizations, NGOs, and governments who help us or organizations such as Shelter, who help us in achieving our goals, setting up supply chains, and support our partners and farmers on the ground. We have roughly categorized the 3 supplier models. So I would say that the smallest share of the products that we deal with comes from independent supply. It's basically spot sales. We have a wide network and some established suppliers for flexible demands. And the second category, and that is much more, and I would say roughly 70% of all the products that we deal with fall into either second or third category, where we really have a strong relation with our partners. Most of our products come from suppliers that we have a more than 10-year relationship with, and that we have helped in different ways depending on their needs, with technical questions, quality management, but also finance in some cases. The last category is fully integrated supply chains. I mentioned we have a few factories all around the world, and there we really go up to field level and own organic certifications. Why do we need good suppliers? I think that's also crucial for us, and it's important to understand from our perspective. Food processing is very complex. It's much more complex than making and selling t-shirts, for example, because it involves a lot of very specific and very diverse set of knowledge. And our customers, they buy on specifications. So they have their specialized machines, processes, packaging, expectations of customers, and at the same time, very inflexible systems. So any adjustments that they have to make in their processes and machines here in Europe or the US will cost a lot of money. So we have to make sure that the products that we source and sell to our clients are according to specifications and needs. So what do we look at if we are engaging with a new supplier? These are a lot of different aspects, and I wish I would have the time to go into detail, but I would just give you a quick overview, and we can probably set up another meeting to discuss it further if there is interest. Quality is a big thing. It has been mentioned before. If the quality is not correct, nobody's going to buy your product. For us, specifically, organic certification and social certifications and organic plus certifications are a must, but we can also assist on the way getting you there, because we have a lot of experience in setting up organic supply chains. Traceability is key. Where does the product come from? It has been mentioned by Jim before. The financial health of the company is important. We will not do a financial check on all of your books, but it's key that you have at least some capacity to co-invest and to have some working capital or get a loan at the bank. Of course, we can also assist there, but there needs to be some starting capital. Now, the important thing is the product knowledge and the will to succeed. A lot of our partnerships are really based on mutual understanding, and because we found a great entrepreneur who had a really good drive and product knowledge to make a product a success. Without that, we believe there's no way a partnership can work. communication, even in difficult times, stay up to date and don't overpromise. Be aware of your competitive factors. You're competing on a world market, so it's really important that you're not only competitive on one aspect, but really make sure you have competitive advantage over others and make them clear, to your buyers. A track record, we often, because we are a big trader and we need certain volumes, we cannot start with half a container or a pallet of cashew nuts. So for us, it's really worthwhile if our partners have already some track record, have already experiences in exporting some product. And then innovation, don't do everything that everybody else is doing, but try to stand out. And sustainability is getting more and more important because our clients are demanding for it, and we are asking for it as well. Please get in touch with us if you think there could be an opportunity to work together with us. As I mentioned, we are interested to broaden our supply in the region and to work with processors of organic cashew nuts in the countries in West Africa. And we can facilitate, we can talk about what assistance you would need and how we can grow together. Please get in touch. My email is here, or otherwise you can ask Davron to link us up. He has my contacts. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good rest of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Maren. We will keep you in the flow of what's happening in the field. Like all other buyers, all cooperatives, processors are interested in cooperating with you buyers, and we may plan some joint activities during the next season together, inshallah. Now I am giving floor to Mr. Ronald Zal. He is from Europe, representatives of the Nuts too. It's also one big company buyer who is sourcing from the whole Africa. And with Nuts too, also we had several attempts during the this year, like last season, to have some joint projects for the cooperatives and for the processors, but unfortunately it also did not happen, like with trading organic. But we hope that during the next year, next season, we will make some kind of joint projects together. Mr. Zal, please.
Thank you very much for the introduction, Davron. I'm Ronald Zal, as Davron mentioned. I'm sourcing director at Nuts2. Nuts2 is a Dutch-based company and a main importer of African cashews and African macadamias. Nuts2 is, Nuts2 is not quite a standard company. We really strongly believe in local development by developing sustainable and profitable economic relations. Through that, we try to create local economic value, and by doing that, we are doing, let's say, justice to nature and man, and from a desire to share by partners and employees to contribute to the elevation of poverty and shedding God's light in Africa. So basically what we want to do is, by doing trade and setting up supply chains, we want to develop local economies, and especially in Africa. How do we do that? As a company, we do market sourcing and investing. We do marketing already for over 25 years. As a company, let's say we started as global trading, wherein we, as motto, the bridge supply and demand for all kind of nuts from all over the world. So we do business in all kind of tree nuts, so like pecans, like macadamias, like cashews, like hazels, etc. We source, let's say, with the sourcing, we have a strong focus on cashews and macadamias. Cashews from Africa, from West and East Africa, and macadamias from Southern Africa. And what we try to do is to source them from farmer groups. We try to process them in, especially in Africa itself, and market the kernels, let's say, throughout the whole world, so to the United States, to Europe, to the Middle East, everywhere, let's say, where cashews or macadamias are consumed. Next to that, let's say, we have also an investing piece. We have invested ourselves in a cashew processing plant in Burkina Faso. And next to that, we have invested in a cashew processing plant in Benin. And next to that, we try to develop also local farmer groups and train them on yields and on and other things, let's say, to increase the profitability of a plantation as well. What we see, especially on cashews, cashews, as what Jim mentioned, let's say 54% of the world crop is grown in Africa. It's Africa is the largest producer of cashews in the world. However, let's say still a very small piece is processed in Africa itself. And as a company, we find that very disappointing, of course, and a huge opportunity because of cashew processing, you can create a lot of jobs. You can create direct jobs, but also indirect with suppliers of cartons, of clothing, of plastic bags, transportation, etc. We see cashew processing really as a driver for a local economy in Africa as well. And because of that, we try to develop the sector as well. Cashews itself, also as what Chip mentioned, is a product where the consumption is increasing every year. We see a growth on annual basis of 8%. And I've mentioned some market trends over here. I don't want to stand a long time still with it, but for example, in India, you see that the growth is enormous. Let's say Indian population is expected to grow, let's say, by 10% from 2020 to 2030. It's already the largest consumer of cashews in the world, but it's gonna increase much more. When you look at, for example, China is now, let's say, when you look at the consumption per capita, it's very low. Let's say the consumption of Chinese people, let's say at the moment that they would start eating cashews as well, then you would see a tremendous growth of the cashew demand as well. In Western countries like Europe, where our main market is, we see a huge increase in demand, mainly because of the health benefits we see in nuts and dried fruits, but also in cashews, and also, let's say, as a replacement of meat consumption as well. How do we see our role in the supply chain? We strongly believe in traceability, traceable supply chains. We need our customers, but also we want to know, let's say, where our product is coming from. We want to work together with the farmers on increasing the yields on plantations, to work together, let's say, on increasing the quality of the cashews which are coming from there. We strongly believe also to work with farmer groups itself by certifying them on organic, for example, or on fair trade or whatever it is. More, let's say, to increase their income. On organic, we believe, as you all, I think, will know, let's say, most of the crops in Africa, also when they're conventional, it's organic by default. Hardly any pesticides are used in the cashew sector still, but organic certification increases, let's say, the value of the product, and also there's a lot of different customers, let's say, behind. As mentioned before, we strongly believe in local processing of cashews. Because of the economic impact, and also we believe that cashews should be processed in their origin. It's partly, let's say, because of the CO2 reduction when you put up RCN, let's say, on the vessel, let's say, from Africa to Vietnam and then getting it back to Europe. The CO2 footprint, let's say, is much higher than the CO2 footprint, let's say, from cashews which are processed locally. But also for local development, it's important, and also quality-wise for the RCN, it's much better to get them processed locally. Yeah, and the other part, let's say, where we believe in the supply chain, it's of course about quality. It's important, let's say, to have a high quality of raw cashew nuts, but also of cashew nut kernels. Without quality, you cannot sell to any of your customers. And yeah, amongst that, let's say it's becoming much more important to look at things like HACCP and BRC, for example. How do we do our supply routing? We have different supply routes. So of course, let's say we have our own factories in Africa where we cooperate with farmer groups in the country of origin as well. So in Burkina Faso, we have, for example, the factory Anatrans. We cooperate, and Anatrans is cooperating with the farmer groups in Burkina Faso for their supply. Through Nets too, we are aggregating all the volume, let's say, from Anatrans, and we try to sell it through wholesalers, through the food industry, to the snack industry, to supermarkets and consumers. So we see ourselves really as supply chain organizers or distributors or whatever, say, people, let's say, which are setting up the supply chain. We see also, let's say, that there's next to that quite a lot, yeah, as mentioned before, a lot of volume in Africa of raw cashew nuts, which cannot be processed locally because simply the processing capacity is not there yet. So next to that, let's say, we send part of the volume in shell to Vietnam to be processed over there, and which we can sell to our consumers, let's say, as traceable African cashews processed in Vietnam. That's for us, let's say, a temporary route. Let's say we really believe, let's say, that in the future the nuts needs to be processed in Africa itself. But for the time being, we cooperate with farmer groups which are having product available on sending it to Vietnam still. Let's say for the future, let's say that we can develop a factory with them together. Yeah, and next to that, we are also cooperating with other, which is called, let's say, our beer route. We are cooperating with other factories in Africa as well, which are there, which are having cashew nut kernels available, which are in need of a market. And then I'm not talking only about the W320s. We market all the different grades from the WW180 up to the BB. So we cooperate with them. It can be, let's say, on an exclusive basis, but can also be, let's say, on a container basis. We just try to find the best the market for them. Yeah, and next to that, let's say we still have, let's say, also still part of our processing coming from India and Vietnam. Part of our product coming from India and Vietnam for the time being, as we have a huge customer database. Customers are in need of cashews, and as what I mentioned before. So for the time being, we still have consumers, let's say, customers which are buying from us Vietnamese or Indian product as well. Now over here you see a bit of what we have seen over time from 2014, I would say, to 2020. You see the root mix, and what you see there is, let's say, that the volumes, let's say, are increasing quite a lot over time. So we're growing, and also, let's say, especially on African kernels, we're growing quite a lot as well. So yes, yeah, for this one, let's say we're interested, let's say, in traceable raw cashew nuts. We're interested in cashew nut kernels. We're interested, let's say, to develop with farmer groups, let's say, on sustainable supply chains, and both on organic and conventional. Yeah, and if you have more questions, please free to ask them later. And over here are my contact details in case of questions or inquiries or whatever. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zal. We will hope that during 2021 season in Segabi region, we will have productive cooperation.
Definitely. Thank you.
Inshallah, yeah. We are giving floor to Mr. David Lederer. He is representative of the Red River Foods from the United States. He is based in Ghana. Since several years, they are already active in our region, but like we invited them to participate like other buyers to find out what is going on in our region with cooperatives, processors, and as they are interested both in RCN and kernels, like Mr. Lederer, please, floor is yours.
Great. Devron, thank you for organizing this meeting along with the rest of Shelter for Life. Thank you for everyone for coming and listening and participating. My name is David Lederer, and I'm a project manager with Red River Foods. Devron, I don't see the presentation, although it's short and sweet. So I'm basically going to introduce Red River Foods and then discuss what we are looking for in Senegal, the Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau. So Red River Foods is a leading U.S. supplier of dried fruit and nuts. It was founded in 1986, and we source about 20 different products from all over the world, and we sell these products to manufacturers, retailers, and confectioners in the US, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Within some of the value chains in which we operate, we have our own food processing facilities. So in Turkey, we process apricots. In Vietnam, we process cashews. In China, pine nuts and pepitas. And we have sourcing operations in Bolivia, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Benin, Tanzania, Vietnam, Indonesia, China, and we have sales offices in Germany, 4 in the US. Yeah, and so cashews actually make up the largest percentage of our overall revenue. We source the raw cashews in mainly West Africa, and we export these raw cashews to our 3 processing facilities in Vietnam, after which Red River Foods USA will sell these processed kernels across the globe. And so we as a part of our mission statement, we would like to provide the highest quality goods, support sustainable supply chains around the world, and provide expert market insights. So in West Africa, what we do in Ghana and Ivory Coast, when we're not procuring directly from farmers during the procurement season, we work hand in hand with these farmers and farming communities to help improve their productivity and increase their yields. So for the first half of the year, we're mainly a buying company, and during the second half of the year, we implement robust sustainability programs with thousands of farmers across West Africa. So what are we looking for in Senegal, the Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau? So from a cashew kernel perspective, we're looking to buy high quality kernels from factories that have a BRC certification, or at the very least a HACCP certification. We're looking for organic and fair trade kernels. In terms of raw cashew nuts, we're looking to buy. Unfortunately we were unable to buy in 2020, although Shelter and Devron did a great job of trying to arrange buying partnerships. That it didn't work out. But in 2021, we're really just looking to buy conventional, organic, fair trade, and for the time being, we would be exporting those raw cashews to our own processing facilities in Vietnam or third parties. After we can develop a strong working relationship in Senegal, Gambia, or Guinea-Bissau, we would like to partner on sustainability programs with either processors' farmer networks to help improve the productivity and the traceability within their own supply chains, and with cooperatives directly. With processors, what we can also do is we can provide factory audits to help in the creation of a HACCP food safety plan, and work together to put in place corrective action policies. So I know this was very brief, and just want to thank you all for listening and for spending the time today. And if you will be able to get my contact information from Devron, and I'm hoping that Red River Foods can buy some kernels and some raw cashew nuts in the 2021 season. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, David. I was talking on the muted phone. We are going next to the last presentation. It is from the Center for Industrial Development, John Nicolaou. He was one of the person who was with us from the first value chain year, trying to find investment from outside, from Europe, from USA, to bring investors to these countries to build new factories. There were some successful cases like was going on, but like everything was kind of stopped during the COVID-19. And like we hope that during the next years, we will have some kind of movement. Please, John, floor is yours.
All right, good morning. Can everybody hear me? Yes?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Great. Well, good morning. Thank you very much to everyone for the introduction and for the invitation to speak this morning. As Ron mentioned, my name is John Nicolaou. I'm the president of the Center for Industrial Development. We're a US-based research and advisory firm, and we've partnered with Shelter for Life on the Lift Cashew project last November and have been working with them since. So, but before I begin, I want to congratulate Shelter for Life on the program, everyone involved, and the progress that was made this year despite all the challenges. So, congratulations to everyone involved on getting through this year. So, as I mentioned, CID, we work in a few different sectors and we provide different services. But for this project, our primary function and objective in working with Lift and Shelter for Life is to mobilize private capital into processing projects and new facilities in these three countries the program is working with, in addition to securing private financing for trade finance. As Ron mentioned, we're actively working with two processors in Guinea-Bissau earlier this year. But naturally, after the pandemic, there was a big pause to activities as everyone tried to sort out the market situation and salvage the season. So what I'm going to talk about today is what we saw this year in terms of at the beginning of the year and throughout the year in terms of demand for and interest in investing in the cashew sector and what we can expect for 2021. So to begin with, at the beginning of the year, there was very strong interest in the sector, but of course, as soon as COVID hit in March, in markets like the U.S. and Europe started picking up in March and April, there was a very quick and extreme flight of capital from emerging markets. So investors pulled out of projects, investors reallocated their portfolios, and they were looking for less risky investments. Now, later in the pandemic, though, as investors saw that other markets were faring better than the US and China and Europe, we saw a very interesting transformation where investors started looking for markets and projects where they could have stable long-term returns on their investments rather than quick returns, if you will. So investors actually started becoming adverse to even markets like the US and China and European opportunities as well. So going into the fourth quarter, these last couple months of the year, that's been the sentiment that we've seen. That this graph on the right actually illustrates how extreme this year was. So the red line is COVID, and the other lines are the global financial crisis in China and China's devaluation of the currency 2015. And what it shows is just how extreme the reduction in investment flows into emerging markets was from COVID. So it was truly a historic realignment. Now, talking about positives, however, in 2021, investors are really looking at Africa differently. They're starting to appreciate the long-term positives in African markets, anywhere from the Africa Free Trade Agreement, the continent becoming more integrated, the fact that the continent is full of young people, there's technology all across the continent, and generally speaking, in the next 10-year investment horizon, African markets are going to have very strong fundamentals, which every investor looks at. Even if you talk about something like risk, investors always associated African investments with risk, but political risk even. But if you look at what's been happening here in the U.S., people are starting to be a little bit more open-minded when it comes to risks, and to think that Africa is the only place that has a risk is that's outdated now. Now African markets are really getting their due and the analysis they deserve when investors are looking at evaluating risk. Now, specifically when it comes to cashews and this sector and this project, as the gentleman was earlier in the call mentioned, investors are looking at value chains and the fact that there's massive distance between customers and suppliers. And for that reason, agro-processing is actually at the top of the list when it comes to priority sectors for investors looking at emerging and frontier markets in 2021. The narrative that supports this entire project, which is that there should be more domestic processing. We've believed that this whole time. Shelter for Life believes it. The U.S. government believes it. And now investors are starting to see that there's true opportunity in making that happen. Last point that's going to be important moving forward is investors aren't going to be doing this alone. Governments are strapped for cash. They're very low on finances. Investors are being cautious. So we expect to see a lot of projects happen with a combination of private and public capital. And there are mechanisms, even with this project, the Live Cashew project, that are already set up, which creates opportunities for U.S. government funds to underwrite private investment. So last point on this slide is that it just shows the projected time to recovery for different markets. So for example, there's very strong forecasts that show that Senegal and Vietnam are going to bounce back from COVID very quickly, whereas other markets are going to take a couple years to return to their pre-COVID levels of economic activity. So lastly, why work with us? What is CID? What CIDs offer? Our value, our unique value, and what we're offering here. So we want to work with cashew processors to help expand their search for capital. We're based in the U.S. We have a very keen understanding of available U.S.-based financing from the government, but also we have a very strong network of private investors, including our UK-based partners, Venator Risk Management, who actually have this specific experience in financing cashew deals. So our network is strong. We have an international team. As soon as these travel restrictions lift, we're very active in the region in person, and of course, we work very closely with Shelter for Life. So, as I mentioned, my name is John. Our regional director, Adelaide, couldn't be here today, but both of us are very active with the project, and we encourage you to contact us, especially if you're a processor and looking to establish a relationship with us for us to be promoting your project and seeking all available sources of financing to make your project happen, and to ultimately increase the processing that's happening in this region in alignment with the Lift Cashew project. So thank you very much. I did go over time a bit, so I'm happy to answer any questions in the Q&A, or of course my email is right here, and I encourage you to reach out. So thank you very much.
Thank you, John, for information. We hope that situation with markets will stabilize during this year, that the COVID-19 will not continue, and a lot of investors flow to our countries. That is one of our main goals. Like, we are waiting for them to come, because we have here big opportunities. Cooperatives are ready, like they are started working. Processors are also growing their capacities. So Africa is becoming, I hope, that more interesting for the investors. And as you mentioned, maybe during 10 years, we'll have big boom of the processing, not only cashew, other bio products which are available in the country. As we mentioned, this was information session. Thank you for all participants. Before going to the questions and answers, I would like to thank all panelists, also African Cashew Alliance, who are now broadcasting this event, were supporting us the whole time. Also cooperatives and processors who are now in our offices joining this meeting. Unfortunately, we were not able to connect Guinea-Bissau because the person who had access to panel left and we were not able to connect them. But in general, all cooperatives and processors are now in the line, and we are going to organize, as it was kind of just information, approach to inform that we have this kind of opportunity. At the same time, inform cooperatives and processors that we have this kind of buyers. So now, we have to take steps on starting negotiations and communicating with each other in order to have some result. And during next year in February, before the start of the season, when we will see that the harvest is already in place and we will have more exact information, by that time we will finalize census awareness campaigns and all other activities to be ready for the season. We can make another meeting together, what will be our next steps. And for these next steps, we cannot, of course, wait since today we can start. Again, the link for the contacts I am sharing you here. If you go there, you will see there two files, one for cooperative and another for processors. There you have all volumes that they are available to supply to you, and also other crops, not only cashew, and also how much kernel and kind of juice products are available in the market with their contact phone numbers. You can contact us or contact them directly. So I think that we are finished with panel. We can start with questions and answers if you have some. Blessing, can you please help me with this event? What is kind of the next step so we can go in a good way?
Okay, thank you very much, Davron, and thanks to all the speakers, all those who have presented. So to go into the Q&A session, we have people who would like to ask questions directly, and those who have already put in their questions in the Q&A feature. Maybe you can read out the questions in the Q&A feature and address it to the right presenter to answer, and then you can call on participants to use the raise your hand feature to indicate they would like to ask a question. Once a participant uses this feature with the hand being raised up, we would allow the person to speak and the person can address or ask his or her question directly to an identified speaker. So maybe we can start with the questions on the Q&A. So if you can moderate that session, then we'll now call on participants to ask questions directly.
Any questions, people?
Devon, there are questions in the Q&A feature. Can you see that? Can you see those?
Q&A, in my case, it's empty.
Okay, I'll read them out for you. The first question is from Karata Fatih. The question goes like this. What incentives are there for startup in the trade in terms of accessing to finance and logistics training in both processing and trading? Please, did you hear the question?
Can you please one more?
What incentives are there for startups? What trade incentives are there for startups in terms of access to finance and logistics training for both processors and traders?
Yeah, I can answer this question. This is closely to my topic. We can say that the project initially was initiated support supply in the countries, cooperatives and associations, which were, some of them are just starting. So at this stage of the project, we are mostly concentrating on supply, like we are working with associations and cooperatives to improve their capacity so they will be able to deliver high quality products in time according to the contract. We have $2 million Cashew Fund, which is available for new ventures. It is used for equity investment, but you all know that the amount is not big enough because that was just to test what is going on the field if there are new initiatives coming to the field. So we hope that at the next stage of the project, which we are planning to pose to our donor and like to the governments, we will more concentrate on big investments. For the moment, what we are able to do on access to finance and like kind of investment, the one thing we are in contact with financial institutions on developing products for processors and for cooperatives and farmers. So one of the options, the other options is to involve buyers, big buyers like companies, Red River Foods, Trading Organic, Nuts too, in a joint kind of ventures if there are some good ideas, and also like bring other investors, local and international, who are interested in having factories on processing of cashew, nuts, apple, or like even shells. So any ideas, please contact us. We are ready to discuss. We will have several options we'll propose which are available for the moment from the project side, but we are not alone. We are together with other development partners, NGOs. We are together with big buyers and investment companies, so we can find solution. Some ideas which already applied, who were in our office, who met with us, they are coming with the ideas. We are not alone. For example, West African Trade Hub, Investment Hub is supporting some of the initiatives in our region. It is USAID funded project in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana, I think. Then we have here some other projects like GIZ who are now going to support with solar system, access to energy. So it is a combination of several actors in order to find a solution. Please come to us. We will sit and together we will find some way of doing, like growing your business. Thank you.
Thank you, Devon. The next question is, what is the level of use of the warehouse receipt system?
Oh, this is again question to me. Currently, we are working on it. In Gambia and Guinea, Bissau, now only governments are starting developing approach about warehouse receipt system. It is not there yet. In Senegal, it was already piloted in cotton, rice, and last year, Ministry of Trade together with World Bank and IFC tested on 4 storages for cashew nuts. It was very successful. During the next week, we are like having together with the Ministry of Trade evaluation of that program and involving cooperatives and associations into the program for the next year. So what we are doing for the moment, we already mapped all storages in 3 countries which are available for warehouse receipt system or kind of collateral management, because legislation is not in place. Authority which is providing receipts for warehouse receipt is not like yet identified, but commercial banks and financial institutions are very interested in a simplified version of it. This approach was proposed by our partner Connexus. It's called kind of alternative mechanism. It's not warehouse receipt system, it's not collateral management, but it's kind of mix, taking into consideration legislation and possibilities of the country. So on warehouse receipt system, we have all warehouses in all countries mapped. So during the next season, we are working with the governments to make pilot in Senegal, Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau, if it is possible, to involve cooperatives, associations, and buyers in it. So we have some kind of, how you call it, mixed system to satisfy needs of both, all parties. Yes, this is.
Devon, please, I lost you for a while. Please, are you done?
Yes, done.
Hello? Oh, okay. We have another question from a participant. It says, as cashew shell byproduct valorization is a big issue on processing competitiveness and on environmental impact, what is the plan from LIFT to support processors in Senegal, Gambia, Gambia, and Guinea-Bissau?
Again, question to me. We are working with all processors in place now. Yes, unfortunately, we have some difficulties with small processors because the volume of the cashew which is produced in the country is not big. In order to fill one container, they usually need 3 or 4 months, except some big processors. And like its impact on the environment, like its impact on the market, mostly products which are produced are sold locally or to African countries which are close. They are not going to export to bigger countries like European Union countries or United States or other countries. For the moment, unfortunately, we have no direct support of the processors like we mentioned by value chain support. What we are doing at place, we are supporting their supply. The main issue was in place that we will create first really good supply, and we will work with farmers and cooperatives in order to aggregate volumes and quality, because we are losing a lot of quality in the field. People are putting not in a correct way the kernel cashew RCN. But we have component about support of the processors. First, it is what we are providing them is organizing for them value chain. We are not directly supporting them, but for those cooperatives and associations with whom they are working, we can provide grants for storages or like grants for trucks or like expansion of the membership in order to be able to like on training capacity building. We also are working with international buyers like who presented today their presentations to bring them in the board of the like processors, together with processors, develop some kind of approach with cooperatives and associations. We have, as I mentioned, Cashew Investment Fund, which is about 2 million, but it is only will be maybe enough for 2 or 3 companies. If you make an investment about 500,000 or less, a little bit less for processing facilities. But as I mentioned, it is not the only thing that we are doing. John and his company, and we have here guys from Fieldstone investment company. We have also other organizations, companies who are interested in attracting private and kind of international, local and international investment. So for the processors, we plan to, as now most of the processing facilities are about 200 to 500 tons. There are only a few big ones. During the year, we will establish for them supply to start them already working on RCN processing, find them buyers, even if it is in a small amount, and then bring investors into their company to expand their processing. And maybe now we are also like, we want to do this as you know, one of our sister projects in Côte d'Ivoire, they are working on $60 million investment portfolio for processing of the cashew. And we want also like in the future to have this opportunity as a second phase to work more on processing when like the supply will be established in a proper way. But it does not mean that we are stopping supporting processors. We are in place. Any problems, any questions which are arising about investment, about support in supply, about finding buyers, we are like kind of free assistance. We tried already with some processors. Of course, not everything went well. For example, I made a lot of mistakes, like processors know about it. We were trying to find the ways to bring some kind of result for them. It did not happen as we want, but at least we were trying to bring some kind of added value for their products and for their business as a profit. Due COVID-19 and some other difficulties, we were not able, but during this year, we already approaching them. All processors who are in the list are signed, they have MOUs with us, and we will, on their need, develop for them 3-year kind of procurement plan, kind of business plan, what they need. If they are going with investors, we are bringing investors. Supply, we are working with cooperatives, linking with them, creating based in contract and deliver quality. So this is what we can propose currently for existing processors or new initiatives. I'm finished.
Thank you, Davron, for the answer. We have 2 more questions in the Q&A chat, in the Q&A box before we go on to call on participants to ask their questions live. Patty wants to know, what are the mechanisms that have been put in place for producers to access the information that have been discussed? And who is determining the buying prices from the production level?
Collins, are you here? Can you please join, or let me explain this? We have our, okay, he is not connected because he is not in the panel. Let me explain. We are now developing a platform based on Salesforce, where we are entering all information about cooperatives, about processors, and this all information, of course, confidential. About, we have, for example, for cooperatives and associations for the last year, how many tons were sold based on contract, based on evidence, and it was about 10,000, more than 10,000 tons. And we have recording for the prices. Also, we have recording for the buyers who are the main buyers. So what we are going to do is, in the next season, we want to make portal, kind of information portal for cooperatives, for processors, and for buyers, where everyone will have access with their password and login, where information about the market will be updated on a daily basis. How we are doing this, we are taking market prices in places. Our project is approaching this way. We have coach, kind of representative of the project in each association or cooperative who are working with them on a daily basis, and they are based in that territory, and they are informing on a daily basis about what are the prices of the cashew nuts in place, and we are putting them in the system. Up to now, during last season, we had difficulties with it. Mostly it was done by the phone. We were getting information, and someone, if they were calling us, we were informing them what is the price in place, available in the markets, and also what is price available by the cooperatives in the field. So during the next year, we will have access to information for those cooperatives who are signed with us MOU. These are list of the companies who are there with us to be they will put prices available tons for the buyers, so they will have access directly to them. And also, we will give access to financial institutions, processors, to buyers, depending on their kind of interest and confidentiality of information. So all players will have access to that information and can use. So this will be not the price which we will approve or adopt. It will be market price. So if you will go, for example, for Guinea-Bissau, from 4 regions, you will see what is priced today in the market and how much tons of cashew is available per cooperative.
Thank you, Davron. The last question in the Q&A box is, what is the LIFT project doing about supporting processes to obtain organic certification?
On organic certification, again, I am only in panel, let me answer to this question. We have experience on working with Mr. Jordi Array. Last year, it was successful, it was unsuccessful. We have some fails, we have some mistakes, we have also progress about it. What we are doing now, we cannot do this program alone. We want to find a partner. It can be a processor, it can be a buyer. We can provide training for the cooperatives that they do multiplications with their farmers, and we can support with printing of the books which are used for traceability and like recording by the farmers. And the remaining, like inviting audit, organizing this audit in place and getting certificate is up to the cooperative itself if they want to have it themselves or if they want to join processor and get certificate, use processor certificate, which is, I think, more sustainable approach in case if you are processing kernel, if processor receives certificate and we work together with processor about having this multiplication in the field. For the moment, all cooperatives understand what is organic cashew, and it is already organic cashew, but only we don't have this paper and like the process of the registering all the processes. So we hope that during already our agriculture department is working in 3 countries with several cooperatives for piloting together with processors, and that we hope that now it is about 1,500 farmers, and Ibrahima can confirm he's, I think, increasing it to 3,000 in order to be able to deliver bio products to the processors during the next year. But of course, we are open for, they need to come up with what is approach, like is like what processor wants and what we can do from our side. Like we are open for negotiation. And as I mentioned, grants is only provided to the cooperatives and only they can decide which kind of products they are going and what they can do. That's why it is kind of, will be a mandatory requirement that we approach cooperatives and like synergy, create synergy together with processors. And if processors are having some cooperatives in place and they are going to implement this organic certification program, we can also assist them in this.
Okay, thank you very much, Deborah. We will now call on participants to ask live questions. Dear participants, please, when we allow you to speak, you will get a pop-up on your screen. Please accept it. If not, you'll be able to speak. Mr. Freeman, if you can hear me, please go ahead and ask your question. Mr. Freeman, hello? Can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Freeman, please, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, I'm getting you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, my question is, we from Liberia, the Liberian Cashew Development Association, we are new, this community is very new in our country. We are doing a lot of sensitization, but the African Cashew Alliance we have been communicating with them. We are not getting no support, and this is our key problem that we're facing with. Even to harvest, we have something like 2 metric tons, and then when the COVID-19 came, we had to put stop to it. Has to preserve it. It was a problem. We did a communication to the African Cashew Alliance. We haven't got no response. And the financial problem have been giving us headache. And we had a workshop. We have recruited more than 500 farmers right now. And we don't have no support. We don't have no support from our government. We don't have no support from the international partner. So this is our question. What can the African Cashew Alliance can do for us and what the other partners can do for Liberia case?
Thank you very much, Mr. Freeman. I think I'll just answer to this question since it has to do with African Cashew Alliance. Your request or your concern is well received, and we'll address it to management and give you feedback. I'm leaving my email address right on the chat right now, And if you could write to me, and then I will properly follow up and will give you a feedback. So I'm just leaving my email address right now on the chat. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now call on Abel. Abel, please, can you hear me? If you can hear me, we are unmuting you. We are allowing you to speak now. There's a pop-up that will show on your screen. Kindly unmute yourself and ask your question. Abel, can you hear me? Hello, Abel, can you hear me? Abel, I see that your microphone is on, but we can't hear you. We will proceed and take the next person. Cisse, can you hear me? If you can hear me, we are allowing you to speak now. So there'll be a on your screen. Please unmute yourself and then go ahead and ask your question. Davran, there are more questions coming up in the Q&A box. So I'm just going to read one from Doz. He says, do you have any programs or activities that support or build capacity of cashew farmer cooperatives in Senegal? Programs or activities that support or build capacity of cashew farmer cooperatives in Senegal?
Yes, let me answer to this question. We are supporting, unfortunately, we cannot go to the level of the farmers ourselves. Our project philosophy or approach is to create volumes and quality. And these are only possible if we can work with associations and cooperatives. And we cannot, at the same time, work with all cooperatives and associations because, like, first is limited budget. The second, the size and opportunity of the cooperatives. We have also some requests from the cooperatives who are 50 people. And if we can work with all of them, like, we will not be able to manage this kind of small size. That's why we are concentrating for the moment for the bigger associations, federations, cooperatives who have 600 and more members. And we are providing support to this legal entity. Now we are building their capacity. We are providing several trainings and supporting multiplication of this training. By multiplication, we mean that we train, for example, cooperative staff about organic certification, traceability, and we support with grants so they can go to the field, print these books, and deliver training to their members. And for the moment, for example, now one of the examples is we hired cooperatives to make a census, to use their own resources to have more information about their members. The next step is awareness campaign. Like, we are inviting all these new members to join the cooperative. We are explaining what is social capital, what is joint work, what can bring association or cooperative to them as a one voice, one hand. And we are explaining that we can bring buyers, financial institutions, processors only to those legal entities who have officially registered, who have banking account, who want to make one level higher, not as a association or cooperative in paper, but in real as a working mechanism. And up to now, there were some cooperatives which were established by previous USDA project, by World Bank project, and they are already strong enough. We are working with them now on finding buyers and having a possibility to export in the future. With the new cooperatives and associations, we are building their now capacity. We are providing training on creating structure of the cooperatives and how to deal with members and involve members, like deal with the commercial banks and financial institutions. So the mechanism is already in place, but the person who asked this question should identify if he's in our Cashew area, the cooperatives which we are working with. The list I already provided. If they are there, they have to be member of that cooperatives, and they will receive support through them.
Thank you very much, Darren. We have two more questions before we bring the session to an end. The first one is, are there any future plans to support the Green Charcoal project?
Support of whom? Sorry?
Green Charcoal project.
Oh, yeah, this question is for the moment, I can directly say no, because even cashew apple processing was not in our plans. The main goal of the project is to increase 30,000 ton capacity new factories in these three countries during next 3 years. And the biggest goal is to sell at least 100,000 tons through the cooperatives and associations. What we can do with the new ideas about even cashew apple processors approached us and they wanted to work with us. Even with them, what we can do, it's kind of, we can provide them with free consultation. We can find for them investors, we can find for them ways how to do, and find suppliers or like kind of, how you call, buyers or sellers of the equipment, but it will be up to them how to do it.
So, et en plus de ça, en fait, c'est une très bonne question. Ça s'inscrit dans l'innovation. C'est-à-dire, aujourd'hui, comme Davron l'a dit, je ne vais pas répéter ce qu'il a dit déjà, nous avons de grands indicateurs, mais nous avons aussi des parties d'innovation. C'est-à-dire, si nous avons des coopératives ou bien des entités qui sont bien organisées et qui s'activent autour de cette question-là, oui, pourquoi pas, on peut s'intéresser à cette question-là et aller vers l'innovation. Faudrait-il que cette question-là puisse rapporter? Nous sommes un projet de business et donc ce qu'on veut, c'est accroître le niveau du business dans le cajou, dans toute sa globalité. Que ce soit la noix de cajou, la pomme de cajou, les résidus de cajou, etc. Mais faudrait-il que ces coopératives ou ces entités-là soient carrément orientées vers ces questions-là et que nous, on peut supporter derrière. Mais on ne peut pas mettre nos forces derrière ce qui n'est pas prévu. On va mettre nos forces dans ce qui est prévu, mais on peut faire de l'additionnel si cela peut rapporter gros au niveau de l'entreprise. Merci.
Yeah, as Laurent mentioned, we have series of services which is provided by our staff. We can link with investors, with partners, with existing cooperatives and associations, start the initiative. Yes, like this is.
Thank you very much. The last question before we bring the session to an end. Somebody wants to know, what is the strategy put in place to ensure the sustainability of the project's activities?
One more time, please, question.
What is the strategy put in place to ensure the sustainability of the project's activities?
Yeah, this is a good question. Will you answer? Yeah, we want this project to be sustainable. Not project, but cooperatives and associations, processors. For that purpose, we are now kind of finishing after 3 seasons in 2023. And that's why our goal was like to strengthen cooperatives and associations to be able to answer to the request of the buyers in place. The second is link them with existing processors, because processors anyway need RCN from place, and they have already, without even SFL in place, some contracting schemes working with intermediaries mostly, because the quality which was provided by associations and cooperatives was not enough good, or not in time, or did not follow up contract requirements. So we are working on the capacity building of the farmer group organizations, federations, associations, cooperatives, in order for them to be able to answer to the request of the buyers. At the same time, we are working with international buyers, international investors, international companies who are also interested in coming to the Segabi region in the future to put their factories or to have constant, like kind of permanent supply of the organic and non-organic products. So we are organizing this kind of B2B events or direct linkage of the buyers together with processors, together with cooperatives, so they can already start creating kind of partnership.
Okay, Davron, thank you. And to add for this, pour ajouter en fait, ce que Davron a dit, c'est bien, mais je rappelle simplement une chose. Nous savons nous tous que nous allons finir notre projet, Inch'Allah, en 2023. Et nous savons aussi qu'à côté de nous, nous avons les différents États. Nous avons la Guinée-Bissau, le Sénégal et la Gambie, et nous avons des services techniques qui s'activent autour de ces questions-là. Et donc, aujourd'hui, tout le travail du projet repose sur les liens avec ces services-là afin que la continuité du travail puisse se faire. On sait que d'ici 2023, on n'aura pas fini de faire tout le travail dans le secteur du cajou. Il y aura beaucoup de choses à faire après nous. Et donc, pour que ces choses-là puissent continuer, ce que nous avons démarré, pour que ça puisse continuer, nous avons non seulement tout ce que Davron vient de citer, mais nous avons la branche de l'État de chaque pays et les services techniques, et nous travaillons d'arrache-pied avec eux. D'ailleurs, tout récemment au Sénégal, nous avons eu une commission interministérielle qui est venue voir le projet pour voir dans quelle mesure ce projet-là fonctionne et de réfléchir entre eux pour voir dans quelle mesure ils pourraient mettre une loi cadre sur le projet. L'État du Sénégal même est en train de réfléchir sur un décret sur le pilotage de ce projet-là, afin de pouvoir faire de cette chaîne de valeur-là quelque chose qui continue. Et donc, ce qui veut dire que le travail qu'on va faire aujourd'hui et jusqu'en 2023 va pouvoir se pérenniser autour des instances de l'État, etc. À Bissau, nous avons déjà un steering committee qui est en train de se mettre en place et pour pouvoir suivre ce projet. En Gambie aussi, le steering committee va se réunir très bientôt, avant janvier. Et donc, ce qui veut dire que nous avons des liens un peu partout qui permettent à ce projet-là de continuer, même si l'USDA n'est pas là, même si les bailleurs ne sont plus là. Donc, c'est ça que j'avais à ajouter.
We finished.
Yes, Davron, that's all the questions. We have exhausted all the questions.
Okay, if we finish all the questions, it doesn't mean that we cannot answer to them. There are some good ideas about organizing laboratories, quality control, about processing of the shells and processing of the charcoal, and even involvement of other cooperatives and associations into the program. You are seeing our contacts. We are open for cooperation. Of course, we cannot promise everyone to have access to the grants because it's only for associations and cooperatives. But for processors, for buyers, for exporters, traders, we are in place as consultants. For supply, consultants for finding buyers, for finding information. So anytime, please, the numbers which I shared with you is WhatsApp numbers. Maybe they are not achievable by phone. We did this because we wanted people to be able to call us through the internet. And we are open for cooperation. We are open for negotiation. We are open for work together with all of you, because we know that if one actor in the chain is not working, even, for example, if we take nurseries, then we can have problem in the value chain. This is the big kind of success depends on our mutual work together. And I didn't say thank you to the government representatives who were supporting us during this year with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, with the Ministry of Agriculture, here Forest and Environment, where the heads of the regions who were supporting our project in place during the pandemic where we were not able to move. So this is collaboration of all our parties. Our goal is, as I said, our project LIFT means linking. We are creating synergies together with all participants. please come to our office, call us. Let's do something tangible during the 2021, we are in place, even with new coming, something like really happened. Thank you very much for your time. African Cashew Alliance, for all the people who are working in the background, like they are not visible, but with their support, we were able to organize. Thank you to the processors and to the cooperatives, because they are our main clients. Because of them, we will have, hopefully, for sure, like during the next years, big success in the sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Merci à tout le monde.
If you have any questions, dear Blessing, can we leave this platform open? If some people have questions, they can ask in chat. Maybe like we can answer them.
Yes, we are going to leave this platform open for the next 30 minutes. So if you have more questions that you would like to direct to the project, please feel free and type in your questions, and they'll pick all the questions and answer. Also note that materials and recordings from this session will be shared to participants. So if you would also leave your email address in the chat box, we'll pick up your email address, your contact, and send you answers to all the questions and the materials and recordings from this session. The platform, like I said, will be left open for the next 30 minutes. Please feel free to ask your questions. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to all our presenters. Until we meet again sometime. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for African Cashew Alliance. Again, Blessing. Dear participants, if you had questions, we were not able to ask because of this Zoom webinar, because it's not Zoom meeting, it's webinar where you have to make raising hands, turning on your microphone. You were not able to ask questions. Please directly write here or in our emails. For the materials of the meeting, like you can go to this link, B2B 17 December 20, where you have presentations of the participants and also information about cooperatives processors with their contact numbers, phones, so which products they are able to deliver you in 2021. You can directly contact with them or approach us for having questions. Thank you again for everyone. Have a nice day. And for all participants upcoming like kind of Christmas and New Year, we hope to see you again in February 21, inshallah. Thank you. Bye.